OTAs are just around the corner for the Philadelphia Eagles, with the first string of practices taking place on Tuesday. And although the drills will lack contact, it's May, so no pads just yet. It's our first real glimpse at the Eagles since their heartbreaking loss to New Orleans in the playoffs, and there is plenty to watch. So with that in mind, here are the 10 things you should be keeping an eye out for over the course of the next week or two as the Eagles go through their OTA program. Before we get started though, guys, if you enjoy what we do, leave a like and hit that subscribe button. It means everything to us, and we are so close to 10,000 subscribers, so if you can give us that little bit of a boost to get us to that milestone, it would mean so much. And don't forget, you can get your daily dose of Philadelphia sports content from phillysportsnetwork.com. We're going to start off though with the man at the center of it all, franchise quarterback Carson Wentz. Today, Ian Rappaport blessed the timelines of Eagles fans with the news they've probably been wanting to hear for quite some time now, and that is that Carson Wentz is progressing from his back injury and has no limitations for on-field drills during OTAs, which begin tomorrow. So while we may not see him sprinting around as we grew so accustomed to in 2017, what we will see is Carson Wentz active in OTAs, and this is so important. Peterson was quiet at rookie minicamp when asked about the progress of Carson Wentz, but this offseason, for many reasons, is the biggest of Wentz's young career. Not just from a health perspective, but he's finally able to work closely with Mike Groh after an offseason last year where the offense was still built around Nick Foles, having just come off the Super Bowl win, then going through the entire offseason all the way through to week 3 with Foles being at the epicenter. This is Carson Wentz's team now. He's got a real chance to bond with his offensive coordinator and to grow accustomed with the new offensive weaponry, including of course Deshaun Jackson, JJ Arcega-Whiteside and Jordan Howard, to name but 3. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, let's take a look at the running back rotation. There's a new sheriff in town by the name of Jordan Howard, but there's also a new deputy. Penn State Allen Miles Sanders was drafted with the 53rd overall pick this year by the Eagles and is assumed to take over the running back 2 role, but he will face some stiff competition. OTAs are so important for running backs. Just look at Corey Clement 2 off seasons ago, the undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin who forced himself into the rotation by turning heads early on in May and building on that foundation. Boston Scott will be one man looking to follow in a similar path, but it's Wendell Smallwood who could be in danger of losing a spot in that rotation despite growth in each of his last 3 seasons. Eagles running backs have long been hampered by injury, and there was a point in last year's offseason where pretty much every running back not named Josh Adams was injured. So staying healthy during the off-season program, being able to prove yourself to Juice Staley in what is such a contested backfield right now, we could see a surprise cut or two. And the growth of Wendell Smallwood, the questions over Corey Clement, these 2 running backs in particular have to hit the ground running, if you pardon the pun, and really start setting the tone early on for Miles Sanders and some of the other running backs to follow, because roster spots are by no means secure at this stage. Further along the line of scrimmage are the tight ends, and what we could see this offseason is some heavy implementation of 13 personnel. It's hard to take a tremendous amount away from OTAs, but now that Richard Rodgers is healthy and back with the team, one has to wonder whether or not Doug Peterson will begin experimenting with those 3 tight end sets just as he did in 2017. Again, the pads are off, so we're a lot less likely to see offensive tendencies revealed at such an early stage in the offseason, but with Ertz and Goddard primed to become such a dominant tandem, they need to get as many ways as possible to see that pair on the field, and Richard Rodgers, the former Green Bay Packer, may be the hidden key who can come in as that inline blocker and allow the 2 guys to come out in a jumbo set and really make a receiving impact. We couldn't talk OTAs though without mentioning the secondary, and it is littered with talent, youth and an abundance of question marks. The 2 starting corners, Ronald Darby and Jalen Mills, are in their contract years, and the starting nickel corner, Sidney Jones, has struggled with health since being drafted in 2017. While Rasul Douglas, the team's 2018 interception leader, is now ripped after an off-season of bulking. So if you partner that with the fact he became a tackling machine last year, what you get is the mountain out of Game of Thrones, just a little bit more chiseled, so it'll be interesting to see how Rasul Douglas takes to the water. Avonte Maddox, last year's rookie sensation, started at just about every position possible in his first taste of NFL action, ranging from safety to an eventual outside starter. Many are interested to see where the Pitt product will play. Will the Eagles move him to a slightly lighter safety position, or will he stay at cornerback for now? One thing's for sure, there's just too much potential to be left fizzing away at CB 4 or 5, but is there room to win a starting role? Also, Captain Cravon, that is all. That's the tea, nothing else. Quite a big thing though, who is healthy? The Eagles were ripped to shreds when it came to injuries last year. From Brandon Brooks and several running backs to Mac Hollins and the entire secondary, just about everyone suffered a kind of injury in 2018. But how many players return healthy and to what capacity? It's great hearing that Carson Wentz will be healthy and taking part in drills, but what about the other 17 players who ended the year watching from the sideline? It'll be very telling early on and could pave the way for some of the younger players, more inexperienced players, to step up and make their mark. Talking of which, the Eagles recently re-signed Stefan Wisniewski. The interior guard, who was a key cog in the Super Bowl 52 run, returns as a likely depth piece. Sayer Marlowe has made the left guard spot his own and earned a contract extension as a result, but if Brooks is going to miss time at the start of the season, then Wisniewski will be expected to start on the right. Behind him though, Matt Pryor is waiting in the wings, and just how much has he developed since being drafted 1 year ago? We'll get our first glimpse this week. And then of course there's a quarterback 2 competition, and while it's a really non-factor, it's easy to say when you're not standing next to a man who started in over a full season's worth of NFL games and has done so for 2 different teams. Sudfeld is going to feel the heat from Cody Kessler, even if his role as Carson Wentz's backup is relatively secure. I think this will actually be a really good way to grade Sudfeld. Seeing him go head-to-head with Kessler, a fringe starter, for an off-season will show the Eagles just how ready, or not ready, Sudfeld is to be relied upon in a crucial moment. Then of course there's the defensive end competition. The Eagles lost Chris Long and Michael Bennett this off-season, and while bringing back Vinny Curry was a key step in replacing them, were their efforts enough? We'll begin to get a glimpse of that over the course of the next week. Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham are likely entrenched as the starting duo for now, but it's the roles behind the starters that are the key ones, knowing just how much Schwartz likes to rotate his defensive linemen. Whether it's a 4th round selection from 1 year ago in Josh Sweat, or this year's 4th round selection in Sharif Miller, the Eagles are going to rightfully start expecting results from their investments, and there are plenty of prizes to be won. Outside of those 2 though is formerly undrafted Joe Osman out of Central Michigan. He had a great preseason for the Eagles last year, rallying to amass 9 tackles, and at 6'3", 259 pounds, he became the guy to emulate Khalil Mack, to emulate JJ Watt during the scout team in some of the Eagles' biggest games. The coaching staff love him, he's come on leaps and bounds, and for the media and fans, they'll finally get to see just how far he's come. Is Joe Osman ready to become a rotational piece in this defensive line? Only time will tell, but this is a long-term battle that's going to take place throughout the entire off-season, so be prepared for some bumps and surprises along the way. Andre Dillard, Miles Sanders, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Sharif Miller and Clayton Thorson. Those are your 2019 Eagles rookies, all of whom, aside from Thorson, sorry Clayton, have a real chance of playing a major role in 2019. Whether you want to see what Sega can do with the ball in the air as a jump ball specialist, or you want to take a closer look at Andre Dillard's technique, this is your first glimpse at the future generation of Philadelphia Eagles, and there's plenty to watch for each player. Whether it's Clayton Thorson's accuracy, Sharif Miller's pass rushing moves, Miles Sanders' burst and cuts, there's something at every corner, so make sure you've got your notepad out and keeping a firm account on what the observations are out of the NovaCare Complex. And finally, there are the undrafted underdogs. The Eagles have become renowned for plucking gems from the undrafted crop in recent years. From Trey Burton and Corey Clement to Josh Adams, the Eagles have a real way of finding talent, and this year should be no exception. There are some really intriguing names to take note of, including Jamalcolm Liggins, a small school cornerback who stands at 6'3" that I interviewed for Philly Sports Network not too long ago. Then you've got TJ Edwards and Joey Alfieri, the pair of big time linebackers who came out of top schools, for some reason went undrafted and are now competing at a very winnable position. The Eagles will have a hard job keeping these hungry dogs quiet. Their journey to winning a roster spot begins this week, so expect some unlikely names to jump out in May, momentum from rookie minicamp carrying straight over. But what will you be watching out for this week in OTAs? Let me know down in the comments section, and again, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy what we do, and if you could take a couple of seconds to hit that subscribe button, that would mean the world to us as well. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I'll be trying to keep you covered all week long with all of the latest action coming out of the NovaCare Complex. Stay tuned for next episodes of the Outside Insider podcast and much more content along the way. And of course, don't forget, PhillySportsNetwork.com is a place to go for your daily dose of coverage from your Philadelphia sports teams. You can follow me at Liam Jenkins 21 on Twitter. I'll see you next time.